There is a paper lantern hanging under the eave of my woodshed. From 20 feet away, it looks like a wasp nest, gray and papery, about the size of a softball. That is because it is not a lantern. It is a wasp nest, and I put it there myself, on purpose in April, before a single yellow jacket queen had picked a place to build. Right now, somewhere within 50 feet of where you are sitting, there is a fertilized yellow jacket queen deciding where to start her colony for the summer. By August, if she picks a spot on your property, that one queen will be the mother of 4,000 to 5,000 workers, every one of them able to sting you more than once, and none of them needing a reason. I have kept 11 hives of honeybees on this farm for over 20 years. I have never once had a yellow jacket colony survive the season near my hives, my porch, or my grandchildren's swing set. I have also never sprayed a single can of chemical wasp killer in my life. Not once, not ever. My name is Elias Stoltzfus. I am Amish. Last month I showed you how we keep the mosquitoes off our porch without harming a single bee. Today I am going to show you the 10 things we do, in the order we do them, starting in early spring and running clear through fall, to keep yellow jackets and paper wasps from ever building a foothold on our land. Some of what I am about to tell you will sound too simple to work. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will understand why the pest control trucks that spray your neighbor's yard every summer are treating the wrong end of the problem, and why the methods that actually work have been sitting in your kitchen cabinet and your garden shed the whole time. 10 methods. All 10 in order, starting in April and running through October. What most folks get wrong before I give you the 10 methods, you need to understand one thing, because if you do not understand this, nothing else on this list will work for you. A wasp nest in July is not the problem. A wasp nest in July is the result of a problem you already lost back in April. Every yellow jacket colony on Earth starts with exactly one insect, a single mated queen who survived the winter alone, usually tucked under a piece of loosed bark or inside a rotted fence post. In early spring, before the leaves are even fully out, she wakes up and she goes looking for a place to start her nest by herself. For about 6 weeks, she is the only wasp on the property. She builds a nest the size of a golf ball. She lays the first eggs, and she raises the first handful of workers entirely on her own. This is the window. This is the whole game. If you deal with that one queen in April or early May, you have prevented a colony of 4,000 angry insects in August. If you wait until August to deal with the problem, you are no longer fighting one insect. You are fighting an army, and the queen you needed to stop is buried safe in the middle of it, laying eggs faster than you can kill her daughters. My grandfather used to say the English wait for the wasp to become a problem, and the Amish make sure it never gets the chance. That is not us being clever. That is just paying attention early, which costs nothing but a little time in spring when most folks are not thinking about wasps at all. With that understood, here are the 10 things we do. Method 1. The April Queen walk-in the first 2 weeks of warm weather. Before you have even mowed the lawn twice, walk your property slowly in the late morning on a sunny day. You are looking for a single wasp, usually a yellow jacket queen, moving slowly along the ground, along a fence line, or in and out of a hole near your foundation, your woodpile, or an old rodent burrow. She will not be aggressive. A lone queen in April has nothing to defend yet and no colony behind her. If you find her nest entrance, which will look like a small dark hole roughly the size of a pencil, mark the spot with a stick and come back after dark with a flashlight covered in red cellophane, because wasps cannot see red light the way they see white light. Pour a half cup of soapy water, 1 tablespoon of plain dish soap to a cup of water, directly down the hole. The soap breaks the surface tension on the wasp's exoskeleton and she cannot breathe. It is over in seconds, and it costs you nothing but a bottle of dish soap you already own. This single walk done twice in April is worth more than every other method on this list combined, because you are killing the colony before it has a single worker. Method 2. The paper bag decoy here is the part that turns out to be true, even though it sounds like an old wives' tale, and I want to explain why it works before you dismiss it. Yellow jackets and paper wasps are fiercely territorial with their own kind. A queen scouting for a nest site in spring will not build within sight of what she believes is another colony's nest, because wasp colonies fight each other over territory and food, and starting a new nest close to an established one is a losing bet for a lone queen with no workers yet. Take a brown paper lunch bag, crumple it, then reshape it into a rough ball about the size of a grapefruit, and hang it under your porch eave, near your shed door, or from a tree branch near your patio before the end of April. From a distance, and a wasp is judging this from a distance, it reads as an active nest. Hang 3 or 4 of these around the perimeter of the areas where you actually sit and eat. My wife thought I had lost my mind the first year I did this until she noticed we did not have a single nest under the porch roof that summer for the first time in a decade. Replace the bags every year, because a queen scouting in her second season will eventually figure out the bag is not breathing. Method 3. The meat trap for yellow jackets, paper wasps, eat nectar and caterpillars. Yellow jackets, especially by late summer, are scavengers, and this is the fact that makes trapping them almost too easy. Start with a 2-liter soda bottle. Cut the top third off, just below where the bottle starts to taper, and turn that top piece upside down so it fits back inside the bottom piece like a funnel, spout facing down into the bottle. Staple or tape the edges together, bait the bottom with a small piece of raw chicken, ham, or hot dog, no bigger than your thumb, and hang the trap from a tree branch, at least 20 feet from where your family sits. The whole point is to draw them toward the trap, not toward your porch. The yellow jackets crawl in through the funnel chasing the meat, and they cannot find their way back out through the narrow opening. Within a few days in peak season, a single trap like this can catch several dozen workers, and every worker you remove is one less mouth feeding the nest, and one less scout that can find your picnic table. Switch the bait to sugar water or fruit juice by late July, because yellow jacket colonies shift from feeding their larvae protein to feeding themselves sugar as the season winds down, and the queen slows her egg-laying. Match the bait to the season, and the trap works twice as hard. Method 4. Peppermint and clove, perimeter, spray this. Works on wasps for the same reason it works on mosquitoes. Tqualt, 10 to 15 drops each of peppermint oil and clove oil into a spray bottle of water. Shake it hard because the oils separate, and spray it along the underside of your porch railing, your eaves, your deck joists, and any spot where a paper wasp queen might try to start a nest. Wasps rely heavily on scent to identify safe nesting territory, and the sharp smell of peppermint and clove reads to them as unsuitable, almost like the smell of decay to us. Reapply every 10 days to 2 weeks, and after any hard rain. This will not remove an established nest, but it is remarkably good at convincing a scouting queen in spring to build somewhere else entirely, which is the whole point. You want her to leave before she starts, not fight her after she has 4,000 daughters. Method 5. The dish soap night raid for any nest that does get established, whether it is an in-ground yellow jacket nest or a paper wasp nest hanging from your eave. The tool is the same one my grandfather used, and it costs less than $4. Fill a garden sprayer with 1 part dish soap to 4 parts water, the same pump-up kind I use for mosquito oils. Do this work only after full dark, never at dusk and never in daylight, because at night nearly the entire colony is home in the nest and inactive, and wasps navigate poorly in darkness. Use a flashlight with red cellophane, taped over the lens if you need light at all, and approach slowly. For a hanging paper nest, stand back at arm's length, plus the length of the sprayer wand, and soak the entire nest thoroughly until it is dripping. For an in-ground nest, pour the same soapy mixture directly down the entrance. Then cover the hole loosely with a flower pot or a shovelful of dirt, so any survivors cannot find their way back out by morning. The soap works the same way it does on the lone April queen. It strips the coating off their exoskeleton and blocks their spiracles, which is how insects breathe. It is not a poison. It leaves no residue that harms the songbirds who might peck at the abandoned nest later, and it will not harm your dog if he noses around back there in the morning. Wait a full 24 hours and check the nest again before you remove it, because sometimes a second soaking is needed for a nest that is more than a few old and larger than a softball. Method 6. Diatomaceous earth for ground nests for in-ground yellow jacket nests, especially ones tucked into a spot you cannot easily soak with liquid, like inside a rock wall or under a slab of concrete. We use food-grade diatomaceous earth, the same powder some of us use for the chickens' dust baths. Diatomaceous earth is not a poison either. It is the fossilized shells of microscopic algae, ground into a powder so fine it feels soft to your hand. At the size of an insect, though, every grain is razor sharp. Dust it heavily into and around the nest entrance after dark, using the same red light approach as the soap method. The powder clings to the wasps as they come and go over the following days, scratching through their waxy outer coating, and they dehydrate and die within a day or two of exposure. It works slower than the soap raid, 3 to 5 days instead of 1 night. But it has an advantage the soap does not. It keeps working on any wasp that walks back through that entrance for as long as the powder stays dry, which makes it the right tool for a nest tucked somewhere you cannot get a clean shot with a sprayer. Method 7. The false nest in the rafters beyond the paper bag trick. If you have had a repeat wasp problem in the same barn, shed, or porch ceiling year after year, the more permanent version of the decoy is worth the extra 10 minutes. Find an old gray or brown work sock, stuff it firmly with rags or straw until it is roughly the shape and size of a small football, and tie it off. Hang it in the exact corner where nests keep appearing, high in the rafters, tucked against a beam the way a real nest would sit. Because this decoy does not sag or deteriorate in rain the way a paper bag does, it holds its shape all season and keeps reading as an active colony to any scout that flies through your barn door in May. I have 3 of these hanging in my hay barn right now. They have been there for 6 years. I have not had a single paper wasp nest built in that barn since I hung them, and I replace the socks maybe once every 2 years when the field mice decide the straw looks like a good winter bed. Method 8. Managing fallen fruit and trash. This one is not glamorous, and it will not feel like a wasp control method while you are doing it, but by late summer, it may matter more than every trap you hang. Yellow jacket colonies reach their peak population in August and September, right when their protein needs from spring have shifted entirely to a hunger for sugar because the colony has stopped raising new workers and started raising next year's queens, who need to fatten up before winter. This is the exact time of year that fallen apples under your tree, an open trash can by the porch, or a forgotten soda can on the picnic table stops being clutter and starts being an open invitation. Walk your yard every few days in late summer and pick up windfall fruit before it ferments. Keep trash cans with tight lids and rinse anything sugary before it goes in the bin. This single habit, which costs nothing but a few minutes, removes the single biggest food draw on your entire property during the exact weeks when yellow jackets are the most aggressive and the most desperate for a meal. A trap can only compete with a food source. It cannot beat one sitting in plain view. Method 9. The herb smudge for the porch. The same tin can smudge pot I showed you for keeping mosquitoes off the porch at dusk does double duty against wasps, though the recipe changes slightly. Rosemary and sage work on both mosquitoes and wasps, but for wasps specifically, add a small handful of dried citronella grass or a few strips of dried orange peel to the mix if you have it. Set the smoldering can upwind of where your family sits to eat, never so close that the smoke bothers you, just enough that the drifting scent sits between your table and the open yard. A wasp hunting for scraps at your picnic will avoid a smoke-touched area the same way it avoids a peppermint-sprayed porch rail. It is not a wall, it is a suggestion. But a suggestion is often enough to keep a single scout from deciding your hamburger is worth the trip. Method 10. Timing every removal to the colony's clock the last method is not a product or a trick at all. It is a piece of knowledge, and it is the reason every method above works as well as it does. A wasp colony operates on a clock. Work against that clock instead of with it, and you will do everything on this list and still lose. Nests are smallest and easiest to remove in May and June before the population has built past a few dozen workers. Find one early. Deal with it that week. Do not wait. Never approach a nest of any size during the heat of the afternoon. That is rush hour for the colony. The entire population is out foraging and returning constantly, and you will be working in traffic. Always work after full dark, when the workers are home and sluggish. Always use red light instead of white light if you need to see anything at all. A wasp's eyes are built to catch the fast movement of a predator in daylight, not to notice a dim red glow at midnight, and know when to step back. A nest larger than a basketball, built inside a wall void of an occupied house, or a colony that has already shown aggression toward a family member with a known allergy, is not a nest for a homeowner with a spray bottle. That is not weakness. That is the same good judgment my grandfather used when a hive of our own honeybees turned mean and needed a beekeeper more experienced than him. Knowing the line between a Saturday afternoon job and a job for someone with proper protective gear is the 10th, and, I would argue, the most important method on this whole list. The bigger picture, I want to leave you with something. Before you go start your own queen. Walk this spring. Wasps are not the villain the chemical companies make them out to be in their advertisements. A single paper wasp nest on the far side of your property will spend all summer hunting caterpillars and hornworms out of your garden, doing work no store-bought pesticide can match. The trouble only starts when a colony builds somewhere. It is going to cross paths with your family. And the honest truth is that most of the yards sprayed with broad chemical insecticide every summer did not need a chemical solution at all. They needed someone to walk the property in April and notice one queen before she became 4,000. Chemical trucks that spray a yard for wasps kill the very things that would have kept the wasp population in check on their own: the birds, the beetles, the predatory insects that share this earth with us and ask nothing of us but to be left alone. You cannot kill the pest without killing the balance if you reach for the wrong tool first. Everything I have shown you today, the queen walk, the paper bag, the meat trap, the peppermint spray, the soap raid, the diatomaceous earth, the false nest, the fruit cleanup, the smudge pot, and the plain good sense of timing, costs less than $20 total for a whole season, and none of it leaves a residue on the swing set, the garden, or the honeybees. I have spent my whole life keeping. So here is what I want you to do. This week, before the weather turns any warmer than it already has, walk your property once, slow, in the late morning, and look for a single queen. That is step 1, and it is free. Hang your paper bags before the end of the month. Mix your soap spray and keep it in the shed for the night you need it. And tell me in the comments where you live and whether yellow jackets or paper wasps are the bigger trouble on your land right now. I read every one of them. Next time, I am going to show you what we do about the barn spiders my wife will not let me kill, and the one Amish trick that keeps them working for you instead of against you all summer long. Until then, stay watchful. Walk your property before the trouble builds. And remember that the people who worked this land before any of us had a phone in their pocket, already solved most of the problems we pay someone else to solve today.